I am really excited today. To you who are watching, you get to hear it first. I will share it on the air in just a few. But today we have an extra treat. We talked about the teachers that have been on the show, but today we get to meet the teacher of the teachers. And I'm really excited to introduce you to Dr. Lee Cowden. I'm sure that everybody who knows about Dr. Cowden is going to be watching and listening. But for those of you who are going to be learning about him today, fasten your seatbelt because we are going to learn and grow together. And so here we go. I don't know how much time we have left. Oh, the music started, Dr. Cowden. I don't know if you like to dance, but it's time to dance. I'm going to wake you up.
Little hard to do sitting down.
Okay, we'll stand up. I was just with Tim. We did a recording of his United Intention television. And he's such a nice guy. Nice guy.
Yeah.
Here we go.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. Reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show, boy, did you pick a good show to stumble upon. And for those of you who have been listening for years to the show, then just know that the person we're speaking to today, you're going to recognize them as the teacher of all teachers. And I just want you to know that it is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal. It is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Although today we're not giving anything away, we're giving a lot more than we've ever given, because health is the best gift we can give ourselves. And so today we have Dr. Lee Cowden. This is world-renowned integrative physician, Dr. Lee Cowden. He's made it his mission to teach other doctors about alternative ways to heal. Dr. Cowden is board-certified cardiologist, a clinical nutritionist, and an internist. He is skilled in kinesiology and homeopath. He's a homeopath as well. He will teach us how we can heal naturally, but he doesn't just do this for his doctors. He teaches us, anyone, even if you don't have a certification, you will learn so much today. That is the gift. If you have a question about your health and you want me to ask Dr. Cowden, you can text me or call and leave a message. I'll review these during the break. If you have any questions, call and leave a message or text. I cannot answer the phone during the show. So the number is 407-373-5959. We're going to learn how to heal our bodies naturally. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Lee Cowden is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Cowden, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show.
Great to be on with you today.
I am really excited about that because as I was doing research for you, when I met Kelly Gallagher, I just want to share this. Kelly Gallagher was on the show last year to talk about Doctors Who Rock conference. This was in Orlando, and it's coming back this year again. And this is for doctors who want to learn alternative ways to heal. And I met Dr. Cowden through Kelly Gallagher, and I didn't realize that Dr. Cowden had taught Dr. Richard Horowitz and a lot of other doctors through, it's called ASIM or ACIM, Dr. Cowden, how do you call it?
You just call it ACIM.
Yeah. ACIM, okay. So ACIM Connect, that's where you can find this information as well. Dr. Cowden, can you share a little bit about yourself and what led you to alternative medicine?
Well, I went into medical school in Houston, and I had lived in arid climates prior to that. And when I went down to Houston, I developed allergic rhinitis, then allergic sinusitis, then infective sinusitis, then bronchitis, then pneumonia.
Wow.
And I was following the advice of different medical school chairmen, department heads, and getting progressively worse. And thank goodness my wife's grandmother came to visit us and took me to the health food store and got me on some vitamins, minerals, and herbs, and I got well. And I thought, my goodness, I need to learn what this woman knows, and I need to take with a grain of salt everything I learned in the conventional training institution after this. And so, I started, when I had time to read, I didn't read medical textbooks. I read books by nutrition by Adele Davis. I read books about fixed magnetic therapy and pulse magnetic therapy and photonic therapy and Western herbals and Eastern herbals and all kinds of other stuff. And so over the next few years, I practiced what I learned on family and friends and was a closet nutritionist, so to speak. And finally, when I finished all my formal training in 1984, I came out of the training institution and did conventional medicine for 1 year. But at the end of 1 year, I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm in the wrong place."
And so as you learned this conventional, what was your thoughts of all the years that you've studied medicine and spent a lot of money with your education? What was going through your mind and your spirit?
Well, yeah, I wanted to learn everything I could learn about allopathic medicine because I knew that there was going to be a lot of patients that were thinking that was the way to go. And if you don't understand their thinking, you can't help them to change their thinking. And so I would find out patients were struggling or failing to improve on the allopathic model. And I would say, well, there's another way. And they say, well, what's that? And I would explain it to them. And they say, well, that sounds better. I think I want to try that. And so, the patients that tried that usually got better fairly fast, and those that stayed in the allopathic model stayed ill.
Okay, so this is going to be a very interesting show for those of you who believe in allopathic medicine. It might be a little bit more difficult, but I encourage you to consider what we're talking about today and learn about it, research it, and make it your truth. And we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Lee Cowden when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Dr. Cowden, going from being an allopathic doctor to having your mother-in-law teach you something, did you have an egoic, like your ego going, this can't be, she's not a doctor. What did she know that you didn't know?
Well, yeah, it was my wife's grandmother, so it was my
grandmother. Oh my gosh,
grandmother-in-law. So she had studied nutrition herself for probably 30 years by that time, and so she knew a lot. She didn't know much about magnetic therapy, pulse magnetic therapy, photonic therapies, and all that other stuff, but she knew a lot about nutrition. And that's the key piece. She knew something about Western herbals, and so I got on some Western herbals and some good nutrition, and she cleaned up my diet, and that was enough.
Well, it's a good thing that, gosh, to think your wife's grandmother was a great teacher. Can you think of other teachers that have inspired you to dig deeper, to learn this truth that you today share with other doctors?
Well, yeah, as I was growing up, both of my own grandmothers were using natural remedies at times to help themselves or family members. But I thought, oh, that's just old wives' tale stuff, And I was never ill when I was growing up, so it was never applied to me. It's a big difference whenever you have something happening to you and something in the natural realm makes you better, as opposed to watching somebody do it on somebody else.
That is absolutely 100%. I have done shows on electromagnetic frequencies, pulse electromagnetic frequency, microcurrent, and until I just recently had a car accident, I have 4 herniated discs, and that's all I've used. I've used electromagnetic, I've used microcurrent technology, and I've also used pulse electromagnetic frequency. I haven't taken a pill, not a Tylenol for my pain, and I was told I was surgical too.
Yeah, I'd like to correct your language. When we say my pain, then we possess it and we don't let go of it. So
Thank
it's
you.
important.
Thank you for that. Yes. I'm three. It's gone. It's been released into the universe.
Yeah, good.
like Dr. Wayne Dyer would say, let somebody else pick it up. Not that I wish that on anyone.
No.
Here we go. I'd love for you to talk about that on the air. And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow together. Today's teacher is the grand poobah of all teachers. It's Dr. Lee Cowden. And we are talking about chronic disease. We're going to learn about what it means and how we can heal naturally as possible. Dr. Cowden, during the break, I said, I was telling you about the car accident and how I'm a true believer in pulse electromagnetic frequency, all the ways to heal naturally through microcurrent technology. And I was talking about my pain. I didn't take anything from my pain. And you said?
Well, yeah, if we ever say my pain or my illness or my whatever, we're possessing it with our language and we're going to hold on to it. But if we call it the pain or the condition that I've previously dealt with, then it can go away. And previous is a second ago, a minute ago, an hour ago, a year ago. But you put it in the past and you call it some, not yours, but give it away with your language.
I love it. And you know what? I know that. I know it. Thank you for the reminder. Thank you, because I truly believe that our thoughts is what starts everything. Everything starts with a thought. And we can create disaster or we can create healing. And so let's talk about chronic disease. Why is it that so many of us have disease when we want to get rid of it?
Well, there's lots of reasons. If you talk about the mind, we know that the average child hears the word no 100 times for every time they hear the word yes once.
Wow.
So do you think we might go into adulthood a little bit negative thinking?
I think so.
So I'm going to teach all your listeners how to get rid of that over time. And the way that you do that is you get out a blank piece of paper at bedtime, and you write on that piece of paper everything that happened that day or that you thought of that day that you never want to think about or have happen again. And then once it's written on that paper, you tear it up in little pieces and throw it in the trash, or you put it in a shredder. And then after that, you get out a lined notebook, and that notebook is labeled on the outside, good diary. Now, good means you can't put anything negative in it, okay? So you open it up to the next empty page, and you write at the top of that page the date, the day of the week, the day of the month and the year, and then you start writing in great detail what did happen that day that you do want to think about in the future, and you write it in such a detail that if you read it 10 years later, you'll know exactly what happened that day. Okay, so after you fill this diary up for a time, you're having a really bad day, you go back and find your diary, and you open it up, and you read as many entries as you need to have your spirits lifted up. So if figuratively you have, this many yeses in you, down here on the bottom, this many yeses and this many no's over here, or every night you're dumping out a few no's and filling up a few yeses, dumping out a few more no's, filling up a few yeses. And finally, when you get to here, healing is very, very likely. If you ever get to here where you have yes in excess of no's, healing is almost an inevitability. It's going to happen.
So the yes that we resound into the universe will determine how quickly we heal. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah. It's the frame of mind. When I see a patient with chronic illness, I do muscle testing early on in the visit, and I have them make statements. I want to be well. I will be well. I deserve to be well. It's safe for me if I get well. It's safe for others if I get well. If they're nice and strong on all 5 of those statements, then the chance of them getting well is pretty high. If any one of those 5 statements is something that causes muscle weakness, then we know that we have to work on that. Otherwise, they won't get well no matter what we do on a physical level.
And do you find that there are people that don't want to get well?
Yeah, maybe not at a conscious level, but when you do muscle testing, you're finding out both the conscious and the subconscious. And, they can lie with their lips, but their muscles can't lie.
No, the body will not let you forget what the brain wants to neglect. That's what
Yeah,
I always say. I
yeah,
just did a show last week, or no, on Monday, about exactly what you're talking about, how important it is for us to dig deep until we find our truth. Why
yeah.
is it that I am holding on to something and I'm loving? Louise Hay also showed me when I was saying, I used the word
Mhm.
I can't wait to. And she
Uh-huh.
said, "You look forward to it, my dear." She said that. I'm like, "Excuse me?" She said, "You look forward to it." Instead of
Yeah,
saying, "I can't wait," even in the don'ts and the can'ts in our lives, she said,
yeah,
turn it around to a positive. "I look forward to it." And
yeah.
from that point on, it became aware. So thank you so much for being my teacher once again. Okay, so here we are. Many of us are taking this pill. My registered service mark is you can take a pill, you can take responsibility. It's not that I'm against pills. I am for doing everything we possibly can. But here
Mhm.
we are, we're driving, we're living lives, and our doctors have told us that you will take this pill for the rest of your life. What do you say to that?
Well, I say first of all, is that the person that's telling you that God, or is that just another human being?
Human
Uh,
being with a
yeah,
white coat.
right, right. And so that person may have quite a bit of knowledge, but they don't know everything. That's for sure.
Hmm.
And so I say to a person uh, that's had a negative prognostication over themselves by a health practitioner, I say, be like a little duck. Okay, a little duck goes out in the rain, and the rain rolls off the duck's back and doesn't sink down into its hide because he orients his feathers in a way where it's a reflector, and we need to be doing the same thing when we have words come at us. Okay, so those are word curses. So it's both at a mental, emotional, as well as a spiritual level. And if we allow words to sink into us, then that curse becomes a negative in our life. So we want to deflect it, keep it from sinking in.
Very good. And so, as we are listening to this, and I've often said on the show, fire your doctor that's not aligned with your healing. A
Mhm.
doctor doesn't heal you, but we can heal ourselves, right, Dr. Cowden?
Exactly. Yeah. What you want to do is, if a practitioner, nurse, doctor, anybody else, speaks negative things over you, you say, "I don't receive that, and if you ever say that again, I'm out of here, and I'll never be back." Okay.
I don't
So
receive
so
that.
so yeah, I don't receive that, and if you ever say that again, I'm out of here. I won't be back.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
empowerment. That's
Yeah.
empowerment, but we're so afraid. All our everything in life that we are connected to, Dr. Cowden, is fear based. And the
Yes.
moment we get out of that fear and we start focusing on the love that we are
Yeah.
given,
Yeah.
that perhaps maybe that yes will become more prominent in our life.
Yeah. Too often, individuals put their health practitioner on a pedestal as if they are God, and that they're all knowing. They know a little bit more maybe than the patient, but not a lot. And oftentimes doctors have no common sense, and the patient sometimes has a lot of common sense. And so the patient will say something that the doctor keys in on, and the doctor says, "Well, that's not so." And you think about it for a minute, you say, "No, I'm pretty sure it is so." And so you have to challenge the doctor on what you know. Don't be bashful about what you know.
Very good. Okay, so let's talk about the different chronic diseases because we go around owning our disease. And I
Mhm.
love how that'll be forever imprinted in my brain.
Yeah, and you just
The
said it
disease.
again. You just said it again. Our disease.
No, no, no. I'm saying that we're so focused on our disease. Not
Yeah,
I'm not saying that I'm focused on
yeah,
my. So this is what we're going through life instead of the disease. So as we look at chronic disease, let's talk about what we can do to make a difference. Let's say someone's received a diagnosis of MS. And the reason why I want to start with MS is that I received a text requesting that you would talk about MS as something that we can heal from.
yeah. No, yeah. MS is very reversible, and as are most diseases. I mean, if a surgeon has cut off a body part or cut out a body part, it's really hard to replace that. But but most of the things that affect human beings can be reversed over time because we are created with tremendous regenerative capability.
Yes.
We just have to get away, get the obstacles out of the way and put in the right building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So the obstacles oftentimes are, chemical toxins, heavy metals, radioactive elements, electromagnetic fields, negative thinking, bad relationships, and so on. You got to get all those obstacles out of the way,
Mm-hmm.
and then once you get those out of the way, then you put the right things in. Fresh air, sunshine, enough rest, relaxation, positive attitude. Building up the yeses and taking down the no's every night. Doing stretching so important. Eating the right foods. In some cases, taking some supplemental nutrients, even those may be in pill form. They're more like food than they are like a medicine. And so we need to not see the pills because they're in pill form as a medicine, but more like food that we couldn't get enough of because the soil is so depleted, and the processing of food takes so much nutrient. So many of the nutrients out, and the cooking takes more of it out, and so on. So we need to realize that if we could live on the side of a volcano in Hawaii and harvest our own fresh produce every day and eat it the moment after it's harvested, that we wouldn't probably need so many pills.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I just received a text, Dr. Cowden, another text from a listener. For those of you who would like to participate in the show, and if you have a question, feel free to text or call, leave a message, 407-373-5959. They wanted you to go into a little bit more about muscle testing and what muscle testing is.
Okay, yeah. So muscle testing is tapping into the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is the automatic part of our nervous system. We have conscious, control over our muscles, and then we also there's an unconscious control over the muscles. The unconscious control is controlled primarily by the autonomic nervous system, and the autonomic nervous system's impact on the blood vessels and the blood flow into the tissues. And so, if a person says something that's not true, that's going to distress their central nervous system, which is going to distress their autonomic nervous system, which is going to reduce the blood flow to their muscles and cause a change in the muscular contraction instantly. And it'll last for a few seconds, maybe a minute, depending on how bad a lie that was that they told.
Yeah.
And then after some time, they go back to baseline. But in those few moments after a challenge, we call it, whether the challenge is saying something like I said earlier, I want to be well, I will be well, I deserve to be well, or a challenge by putting a substance in close proximity to the body. We know that every substance, whether it's a food, a vitamin, a mineral, an herb, a homeopathic, a pharmaceutical, a microbe, a toxin, every substance produces a vibrational frequency that is perceptible by our nervous system. Our nervous system is exquisitely sensitive, and we know at a subconscious level what's going on. Most of us don't have a clue at a conscious level, but at a subconscious level, we know a whole lot. It's estimated we know thousands of times more.
Yes. And so this is, okay, during the break, we're going to talk about self-checking our muscles, ourself doing it so that we don't have to guess about what we're feeling or what we want. And we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Lee Cowden. You can call and text questions if you'd like. And we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Lee Cowden when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. So I have a question for you, Dr. Cowden. Just recently, I was with a doctor who was doing this bit. So he was testing himself of whether this was true or not true. Many people have said, where does the bias go in to what we want versus understanding what the muscle, like if you muscle test me, how much is your perspective involved in this muscle testing? How much is my trying to control what I want to do? Can we test ourselves for this? Can we do our own muscle testing?
Yeah, you can. The more intent you are on trying to find the truth, and the less invested you are in having a certain truth, which may not be truth at all, then the more reliable the testing is. When I learned muscle testing decades ago, I saw somebody demonstrate O-ring testing. So they had me oppose the thumb with different digits one at a time to see which one was the strongest when they tried to pull it apart. And so finally, they would find one that would just barely come apart when I was trying pretty hard. And then they would put something onto my body, whether it was NutraSweet or something else that was bad for me. And all of a sudden, there was no way I could keep that same digit together. It would just fall apart. And I said, well, that's fascinating. I didn't know about that. So I said, they said, well, why don't you go to courses? I said, I don't have time to go to courses. I said, well, I'm going to have to just teach myself. So they gave me a couple of sheets of paper that showed the different points on the body that Versandol had come up with over the previous decades. And so I used those on every patient when they came into the office. Every new patient, I would say, you don't know me from Adam, but I'm going to pull on your muscles for a few minutes if that's okay. So before and they would say, is it going to hurt? No, not going to hurt. Is it going to cost you anything extra? Not a penny. Yep, go ahead, pull. And
pull my finger.
Yes. I would commit myself in writing to what I found on their muscle testing exam before I looked at their history, before I asked them a question, before I did a physical exam, before I did any laboratory work or any other type of evaluation. I was relying exclusively on muscle testing, so there was no way I could be biased. I didn't know what was going on, and so then I would find what I found. I wrote it down. In the beginning, I wasn't so good. Maybe 15%, 20% of what I found was abnormal, truly abnormal. And then by the end of the year, I'd taken my ability to guess which laboratory tests were going to come back abnormal about 15% of the time, up to about 85% of the time.
Wow.
So in 1 year, I increased my diagnostic acumen about sixfold.
Wow. Wow. Do you feel that was as you were opening up to this and allowing for this download, so to speak, for you to be open to get rid of your bias and allow the vibration to just permeate in you?
Yeah, exactly. I was getting out of my head and getting into my own body when I was doing the muscle testing. I had no preconceived notion of what was going on, and didn't have any insight, any knowledge into that patient before they told me what was going on, and so that helped me become objective and learn that way of testing in an objective fashion.
Okay, so during you talked about pills and nutrition and supplements while we were on the air, and is there a best way to take pills? Like, for example, right now I'm confused because I get so many wonderful teachers that come in, and every single one of them is passionate about their belief. Whether meat is good, meat is not good. Whether supplements are good, supplements aren't good. Is liquid better than the capsules? Is that the worst way to take a pill? Is it the tablet better than the capsule? What can you share about that?
That's a complex answer.
How much time do we have, Brian? Oh, no. Okay. Please remember that because we're going to be talking about that.
I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. Today's awesome teacher is Dr. Lee Cowden. He is the teacher of the teachers, the Grand Poobah. This man is going out there and teaching our allopathic doctors, the ones that we go to and gravitate to a new truth of alternative healing. This is natural science. And of all the things that he could be doing, He is passionate about this. And I want to encourage you to either go to, I mean, there's so many different websites, but I'm going to send you to acimconnect.com. You'll learn a little bit about this. This is information that even if you don't have a degree behind your name, you can go and learn more for yourself. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the next segment, about becoming certified in this work, if there's such a thing as becoming certified. And so Dr. Lee Cowden is here today to teach us that we are our own MDs. We are our own medical detectives, that we can heal our bodies, but that yes must be greater than your fear of the no. Your yes has to outweigh that. So I want to encourage you to go to whenyounneedafriend.com, become a subscriber there. And when you go there, you will, and become a subscriber, remember there's a email that you're going to get to confirm. Once you confirm, you'll get gifts from the show, a 90-day challenge to self-love that I created, and as well as the show will be sent to you so that you can listen to it again and again to your tablet or your phone. Make sure you go to whenyounneedafriend.com, play with all the buttons, click on social media, like me there, click onto the YouTube channel, and you will get the on and off the air conversations. These are conversations that we don't have the time to finish on the air. So go to whenyounneedafriend.com, subscribe on my podcast, everything there. You could also call or leave a message. Call and leave a message. I don't answer the phone during the show. And also, you can text at 407-373-5959 if you have any questions for Dr. Cowden. If you're dealing with something that you're calling your pain or your disease, the first thing you need to do is call it the. That is one thing that will always, forever be within me. And Dr. Cowden, thank you so much for doing what you do when you could be just like sipping margaritas on the Riviera. No, did I say that correctly? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You could be doing whatever you wanted, but this passion, where does this passion come from in you?
Well, I think our passion is put into us by the Creator, and if we listen to it and follow it, then usually our life is good. But if we ignore it, then we have a miserable life. So it's your choice, right?
Yes, I was just listening about this, that we need to seek that wisdom. And that wisdom is within us, because the power that created us very powerful. And we only tap into so little of it. That mind-body-spirit connection, Dr. Cowden, that you talk about, we've discussed on the show before. What do you say for people that are just trying to heal the body? Just the body.
Well, what I learned a long time ago is if you have a physical problem and you work only on a physical level, it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of effort, and a high probability of recurrence if you stop prematurely. And if you go to the next level up, which is the mental emotional level, there's going to be less time, less money, less energy, less effort in order to get a healing, and a lower probability of recurrence. But if you're willing to go all the way up to the spiritual level, then there's even less time, less money, less effort, less energy, and even a lower probability of recurrence. So I'm not saying we should work only on one of those levels, but I think that it's wise to work on all of those levels simultaneously so that we heal at every level of our being. We're not just a blob of cells. We're a very sophisticated spiritual and electromagnetic instrument.
Absolutely. So as we are focusing on the emotional part of our lives, as we're focusing on the physical body, as we focus on the physical body, what tips can you give us? Because I call it a soul shovel, but what tips do you give your patients, people that are listening today, to not be afraid, to walk towards what they fear the most, so that they can finally discover that they discover the blessing in whatever it is they're trying to stay away from? What tips can you give?
Well, yeah, we need to try to figure out, what we have fear about and why we have that fear. Most of our fears come from either an experience at a very young age after our birth that created a fear in us about something. and then that follows us through the rest of our life unless we recognize it and do something about it. Or we can pick up fear actually in utero, in our mother's womb, because if mother or father had a lot of fear when mom was pregnant with us, then we pick up that. We're little emotional sponges sitting in the mom's womb, soaking up their emotions. And it's not just fear, it's all the other emotions as well. And so a lot of the work that I urge patients to do is on that level, on resolving the intrauterine emotions that they picked up and the emotions that they picked up in the first few years of life. If they do that, then they're going to be healthier the rest of their life. And it's a one-time dump, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, they have to work a lot less hard on the physical level. It's not that we shouldn't pay attention to diet and supplemental nutrients and periodic detoxification and all that other stuff, because we should, but we have to do less of that if we've worked on the mental, emotional, and spiritual level first.
Excellent, excellent. So as we go forward in the disease process, there are some people that need transplantations. You know, they need a heart transplant, a kidney transplant, a liver transplant, all these different transplants that people are constantly saying, this is going to save me. What do you say about that?
Well, I've had over the last 20 years, probably 3 patients with advanced cardiomyopathy that were on the heart transplant list. And none of them have gotten a heart transplant, and they're all still alive and doing whatever they want to do every day in their life. So we know that heart disease, that type of heart disease is very reversible. I've taken patients from, if you have a left ventricular ejection fraction of less than 15%, you're considered to be hopeless unless you get a transplant. But I know that I have at least 24 patients, maybe more, that had ejection fraction at that level that are now at 45 and 50 and 60%, and jogging every day and working every day and doing everything they want to do. So that's reversible. What happens with for example, with cardiomyopathy is that a patient experiences a brokenheartedness event, or sometimes a love block, which is similar. And that emotional conflict causes their heart to become like a magnet to attract heavy metals and radioactive elements and all kinds of other toxins. And that was actually proven by a biopsy study that was done in Italy back in 1999, published in JACC. But the mercury content in the heart of a patient with cardiomyopathy is 22,000 times greater than the mercury content in the heart of a patient with average coronary disease.
Wow.
So if you get the emotion out, you see the metals start flooding out, and when the emotions and the metals flood out, then the viruses and all the other critters that are in there causing the damage to the heart muscle go away, and then the heart recovers. I've seen patients with advanced kidney disease avoid going through dialysis or have a kidney transplant by dealing with all the emotions and toxins that are related to that. And so, we have this incorrect belief that all we got to do is get somebody else's organ and put it in our body and that'll fix it.
Yeah.
But I had a patient one time who was in the process of rejecting the third kidney when I intervened. Okay, and he still has the same kidney today that he had 20 years ago when I intervened.
Wow. And, you talk about the broken heart, and I interviewed a cardiologist and an interventional cardiologist, and I could never remember. It's a Takotsubo, and it even has a diagnosis. It's like, isn't that the name? I can't remember. Is it Takotsubo something? It sounds like a voodoo thing.
Yeah. But there's so many labels
I know.
That's what allopathic medicine is so good at, is giving somebody a label. But if you retain that label, it becomes a curse. So we want to try to make sure that we don't hold on to any label too tightly, that we're very willing to let go of it.
Oh my gosh. I once worked with a young lady that had so many diagnoses, and I asked the question, what would your life be like if you pretended those diagnoses didn't exist?
Yeah.
There was no pretending. They were very real. What advice do you give someone who is holding on? And I know I asked this question already, but someone that's holding on to their disease.
Yeah, well, why are they vested in the disease, and what is the gain that they get from being vested? I'll give you some examples. If you make this statement, it's safe for others if I get well, and you flunk that muscle test. I've seen that a person flunk that test because it was a child whose mother was being abused, and when the abuse stopped, the child got well.
Wow. Well, we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Lillian. I've got so many questions. Thank you for your text, and I'll ask them during the break. We'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay, so somebody else wants to talk about muscle testing. You already discussed this on the air, so I didn't ask on the air. This is information that we talk about all the time. But to have someone like you come on and say, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna verify that this information is accurate. It's not just, one doctor coming on and one doctor only. Doctor after doctor after doctor, you have helped teach this truth. And what kind of satisfaction do you feel knowing that you have followed your purpose and that you'll be judged and said, well done, thy good and faithful servant? What kind of feeling do you allow for that grace that you've given to others?
Yeah. Well, I gave up a invasive cardiology practice to do integrative medicine is what I call it, to take care of patients without surgery and other major interventions. And so I took about a 75% pay cut then. And then in 2009, I took another huge pay cut going from being a practitioner doing integrative medicine to being a teacher. So, it's not about the money. It's about, are you fulfilling your purpose? Why are you here? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? And, it's right. At the end of our life, we have, what do we want on our headstone? He spent a lot of time at the office, or do we want to say, well, he impacted lives in a positive way. If I treat a patient, I help one patient, maybe a few family members. If I teach a doctor how to take care of patients, then I help 1,000 patients or more.
Well done.
Yeah,
well
so
done.
that's my passion now, is to help as many practitioners to learn how to take care of patients that they previously haven't been able to help. There is no such thing as a hopeless condition. There's only hopeless patients. Now, patients usually have their hope taken away from them by some other practitioner, unknowingly, unwittingly, and they just gave it over to that practitioner. Well, I don't know if everybody's watched Lorenzo's Oil, but if you haven't, that's a great movie to watch, because those parents refused to let the doctors take their hope away, and they kept searching. They finally found an answer for their child. And so that's the way we should do it also, in our daily lives. So we should, keep searching, not take some doctor's word for it. We know that allopathic medical knowledge doubles about every 3 or 4 years. That means after you go 4 years, half of what was known is now no longer true. And so in integrative medical knowledge doubles every 2 years. So if I don't keep reading and studying and learning all the time, then in just 1 year, I only half of what I know is true.
Wow. I wish we all would go through life like that. It's like what I knew 2 years ago is completely different today, but we are so married to the truth that we were taught.
Yeah.
I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian
I want
McDermott
to talk about
voicemail at
learning how to do this for ourselves.
407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow together. Today's teacher, I am just so honored that I met him at the Doctors Who Rock conference. Kelly Gallagher came on the show last year to talk about the ACMI conference that will be in this year. So as we get closer, I'll announce the date, and we'll have hopefully Dr. Cowden back. As a matter of fact, we're going to have you on Saturday on a Saturday show with United Intentions pretty soon. And so for those of you who want to learn about what Dr. Cowden is talking about, you don't have to be a doctor or a regular or a medical professional. I qualify to learn this because I am my own medical detective. And so Dr. Cowden has helped teachers like Dr. Richard Horowitz, who has been great on the show. Also, I don't know if I can share this, but I've heard this, but you are Dr. Joe Mercola's doctor. So, you know, we love Dr. Mercola. We look up to Dr. Mercola, but he looks up to you. And that's what I love about you as well.
Yeah, well, he's a great friend and a great guy and doing some great work. But you know, he's had his health challenges, as I have. In 1994, I had prostate cancer, colon cancer, and unstable angina pectoris in about 6 months' time. And at that time, my wife also developed breast cancer and unstable angina pectoris. And we had a 13-year-old daughter that we were homeschooling in our office, and we thought, my goodness, we're fools. You know, both of us could die the same day, and she'd have no parents. And so anyway, I had to try to find a doctor to join me to take the load off, to try to find a doctor to buy the practice. Couldn't find either, so I ended up having to close the practice in order to save my life, my wife's life, and our daughter's. So you know, it was a challenging time, but we reversed all those conditions without surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, or pharmaceuticals. And you know, so when I tell somebody what I urge them to do, I'm not just saying theoretically. I'm talking from experience. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Got the T-shirt and wore it out.
But Dr. Cowden, you know, sometimes we hear God's voice in a whisper, and sometimes we get hit with a 2x4. You were hit with a 2x4 so that you would close down your process so you can experience this truth on yourself and come from not only a place of knowledge, but a place of experience, which is just the highest level of passion is when you go through it. And now you say the fourth level, the fourth question of responsibility is, how can I use this now to help the greater good? And well done, thy good and faithful servant. Well done. Now, I know that you go around the world with ACMI. I just recently was talking to a wonderful friend of mine who I suggested they become a certified practitioner or get a certification that will help them go further in what their passion. Mm-hmm. If someone doesn't have an MD or a DC or a nurse, any background, how can we get certified with this information, or can we?
Yes, yeah, we created a online fellowship training program that actually anybody can take if they wish, and you can even take an online exam to figure out whether you really know the material. Mm-hmm. And so it's 300 hours worth of training. Most people don't want to bite off 300 hours worth of training. That's a huge commitment. Yeah. So we put it into levels. So there's 10 levels, about 30 hours each. And so if a person signs up for the first level and takes that level and then takes the exam and passes the exam and then goes and tries some of those things on themselves, their family, their friends, and has success, mm-hmm. or even on their patients if they're a practitioner, then they say, wow, that was worthwhile. And then they usually, so far everybody that's taken the first level has gone on to the second level. Mm-hmm. And so they just work their way through the levels one at a time. And if they finish the level, all 10 levels as a licensed practitioner, then they'll have a certificate of fellowship. So in other words, a fellowship certificate. Mm-hmm. If they're a housewife when they start and they end up going through the whole thing, they'll be a comprehensive wellness coach if they pass all the exams. Mm-hmm. And a comprehensive wellness coach is a sought after asset for most integrated practitioners, because most integrated practitioners don't have the time to hold the hand of the patients through everything, and they need the wellness coaches to be able to do that.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. I love this. You're going to be also doing these classes where we can come see you at this event. The ACIM Connect is also having these classes, and there'll also be a gala, which I'm hoping that I get to go this year again for the Doctors Who Rock conference. And by the way, for those of you, what an honor to watch Dr. Lee Cowden receive his award and to see all the doctors that were there just ooze love onto him, because that's what you bring onto the hope. You had said off the air about the hopeless condition.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us are feeling hopeless about our condition. So can you kind of give us a light of fresh air or a breath of fresh air when it comes to this hopeless condition we find ourselves in?
Yeah. Well, years ago, one of my colleagues says, Dr. Cowden, aren't you giving your patients false hope? And I thought about it for a moment, and my response was, there is no such thing as false hope. There's only hope or no hope. So if the patient is still breathing and they're above the grass, then there's hope, right? They may be horizontal most of the time, but I've had patients that were given zero hope that are still alive decades later. Kelly Gallagher is an example of that. She was expected to be planted 25 years ago, and so she's still with us and doing good work, and so that's what makes it worth it. She's been able to live out her purpose as a result of me helping her to understand that there is hope, even though the allopathic doctors don't know that there's hope, don't understand how the hope can be.
Yes. You said there's no hopeless condition. What is there?
Yeah. Well, every person that has a condition has the ability to heal that condition. You just have to get out the negatives and put in the positives so that there's the right building blocks to rebuild the body. Now there's hopeless people because they get something in between their ears that they think is a particular belief. So many patients that have cancer, for example, are told by their oncologists, you have 60 days to live. And those that believe it die exactly 60 days later, not 61 days or 59 days, but exactly on the 60th day. I've seen that countless times. And so if you believe it, then it's going to happen. So don't believe it. It's a belief of that practitioner. It's not a truth unless you make it your truth.
Okay, so what is the difference between a belief like don't believe it versus denial? Right now I'm working with somebody who refuses to even get a diagnosis to find out why they're not feeling well. What is the difference between denial and not believing in the diagnosis?
Well, okay. A diagnosis is important for insurance reimbursement, but it is not important for the healing of that person. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I say, you could give a diagnosis to almost every person in this country. We know that 60% of the people walking around have symptoms. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so that means they're all ill. They all have they may not have a label that allopathic medicine has come up with yet, but give the pharmaceutical industry and the allopathic system long enough, they'll come up with a label for that one too.
Absolutely,
whatever that is.
Totally agree with that. Mm-hmm.
And so you can either accept a label and say I am whatever, I am cancer, I am congestive heart failure, I am whatever, or you can say this is a condition that I have dealt with in the past. Mm-hmm. The past is a second ago, a minute ago, a year ago, and this is something that my body is healing from. Okay, and so you're not possessing it with your language. You're not going to stick with it.
And we're going to, Dr. Cowden, I absolutely love you. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and to you, my listening friend, I want you to know that this is a new truth for so many of us, and take your health back. Do whatever it takes and believe that you can heal, and you will. Please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Yeah. Okay. So I would love for you to continue that, because now that we're off the air, we don't have this time. This is a special bonus for those who are continuing to listen to you, which I hope everybody is listening to the beautiful end of this. And there's never an end. There's always a continuation. So for someone that is, I am well. That's my mantra. I am wealthy. I am healthy. I'm healthy. I'm wealthy. I'm wise. I am love. And little by little, I heal. My body heals. And if it doesn't make sense to me, I change it so that it's true for me.
Yeah. What do you need to put into the mix that might be missing that would make a difference? So if it's a change of attitude, then you work on changing the attitude. If it's a particular supplement that has a nutrient in it that your body needs because you're biochemically individual, then you add that supplement. If it's eating more of a certain type of food, if it's getting more fresh air or sunshine, exercise, stretching, deep breathing, visualization, stress reduction, blah, blah, blah. All those things are parts of our health and healing. And so if we can figure out what we're missing and what we have excessive of that we shouldn't have, like heavy metals and pesticides and so on, get the bad stuff out, get the good stuff in, then we can rebuild. Our body can become what it was designed to be, and we can move on in life. And I see the human body as a temple for our spirit and for our soul. And so if we take care of the temple, then we can be here for as long as we want to be here.
Yeah.
Most people are not aware of the of Professor Li in China who died in 1933, born in 1677. So he was 256 years old, outlived 26 wives, and he outlived all of his children, all of his grandchildren, all of his great-grandchildren. But you can look him up on the internet. The Chinese government helped him celebrate his 150th, his 200th, and his 250th birthdays. There was very, very, very old men at his 150th birthday party that said their grandfathers knew Dr. Li when he was a young man. So it's documented that he lived to be 256 years old. And he said, the secret to longevity is only a few things. He says we must sleep like a dog. A dog will fall asleep quickly and wake up refreshed in just a few minutes. We must have the heart rate of a turtle, so he would slow his heart rate to 5 beats per minute or less for hours on end each day. He said, walk like a pigeon, don't run like a rabbit, so we do speed walking every day. He said, eat for health, not for taste. And so that's a big sin of many Americans. They eat for taste, not for health. And he said, balance the chi. And every morning when he'd get up, he would take his own pulses and give himself Panax ginseng tea if he was yang deficient, Foti Tiang tea if he was yin deficient. And then he said that the very most important thing to maintain good health and longevity is never, ever let anybody steal your peace. Okay? And that's especially health practitioners. Practitioners can steal our peace by telling us something that they believe to be true, even though it may not be true. Yeah.
Such wisdom. Thank you, Dr. Cowden, for sharing. I know that you're going to be on my Saturday show from 11 to 12 with United Intentions Integrated Seniors. We're going to talk about integrated seniors and how many, as we get older. You had mentioned earlier in the break that every 2 years we, whatever we knew 2 years ago is no longer true, and we continue on with this. It's great to continue doing this show and to learn especially with the seniors. Many of us, we think this is it. What we know is truth. Breaking into that truth, breaking into that, what we know that just ain't so. That's I remember a well-known nutritional doctor say, here he was at this conference and majority were elderly, and he goes, I try not to get too excited about, the fact that there's 750 seniors out there to come listen to me. Most of them will walk away and go, oh, that was a nice talk.
Yeah.
What do you say to that? Do you believe that even a senior can change their perspective?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You don't have to be a young person to change your perspective. Sometimes the elderly will hear a new truth, something that they've not heard before, and they'll say, "Wow, that seems to make sense." And then they put it in place in their life and find out that it does make sense because it bears out good fruit in their life. So.
Very
Yeah.
good. Well, Dr. Cowden, thank you so much for the work you're doing. This certification that you were talking about for women and men that don't have a medical degree, what is the cost for this? Is there like a scale or like per
Yeah. Yeah.
per level?
If somebody becomes a free member in the academy, which is the right price, it's free. They can start level 1 at a cost of $900. So they go through the 30 hours worth of training for $900. If they say, well, I really don't want to pay $900 per level, then if they become a premier member, they can take the price down to $720 per level. So after 3 levels, you pay for your $500 annual membership fee, and if you do the whole training in a year, then you have the entire program of 300 hours for $7,700.
Wow. And so this it's called fellowship training. What is the name of if you are a practitioner and you take these 30 hours, is it the same 30 hours for the practitioner as it is for the lay people?
Yes, there's certain types of things that we teach that are invasive procedures, and the invasive procedures we will do a lot of hands-on teaching to the licensed practitioners that have a license that will allow them to do those invasive procedures, and we just expose the rest of the public that want to become wellness coaches to those, so that they know what that's about, but they don't necessarily learn how to do it.
Mm. Very good. Very good. Well, I'm going to check it out because I believe that since I was a little girl, I've been fascinated about healing. And for many years, Dr. Cowden, I thought I was going to die. I don't know what it was. I just had this feeling that I was going to die until one day I had someone say they tested my blood, and I think it was the medications I was on for asthma. I was born with it, and I believed that I would have it for the rest of my life until one day I had a doctor say, no, you don't have to have it for all your life. And I had a new truth. And at that moment, getting off that medication and using vitamin C to heal my body, then all of a sudden something awakened in me and said, no, I'm gonna live till I have my final breath. I'm gonna live in every moment with purpose. To change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, do you real quick, because I know that it's early and I don't want to take too much of your time. Vitamin C, there's been a lot of contradiction lately between whole food plant-based and ascorbic vitamin C. Have you dipped your toe in that at all? And what can you share about that?
Well, yeah, the food-based C has a lot more benefit in the body, but all animals except for humans, monkeys, guinea pigs, and fruit-eating bats manufacture their own vitamin C. And if you measure the amount of vitamin C that those animals manufacture per day, a non-stressed animal the size of a human will make between 5,000 and 18,000 milligrams per day. Now, to get that from food, there's 50 to 60 milligrams of vitamin C in an orange. Mm-hmm. So that means that you'd have to do at least 100 oranges per day to get the minimum that's needed for a non-stressed animal. And so that's not feasible. So probably most people need a mixture of plant-derived C and a supplemental ascorbic acid. Now, other nutrients, it's a different story. But if if you do my preference is actually magnesium ascorbate, because the magnesium helps to buffer the C and take it into the body. I don't like calcium ascorbate. I don't like supplemental calcium, period, because it usually ends up in the artery linings and the joint linings and other places where you don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, if you could get the magnesium ascorbate, you get magnesium that you need and ascorbic acid that you need, and don't get irritation of the stomach.
Very good. So magnesium ascorbic. I've never heard of magnesium. I've heard of sodium ascorbic. I've not heard of magnesium ascorbic. Is there a particular brand that I'm not? I don't want you to.
If the person does a search, the magnesium ascorbate is available from 3 different companies that I know of.
Okay.
And so,
Wonderful.
I've got to run, but it's been fun today, and I hope to get to do it on Saturday then.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cowden. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody who's been watching today, and I look forward to our next conversation.